Lily Mason stared at her reflection in the mirror of her dormitory bathroom. Her purple-tinged skin glowed slightly in the dim light. The tiny bioluminescent freckles scattered across her nose brightened when she felt nervous, and right now they were shining like tiny stars. She took a deep breath and brushed her curly brown hair away from her very human-looking eyes. "Just another day," she whispered to herself. "You can do this." The hallways of the Galactic Academy on Centaur Prime were already busy with students rushing to morning classes. Tall, elegant Aquarians glided past, their blue-green skin rippling with patterns as they communicated with each other. A group of Draconids huddled together, their scaled skin and sharp features making them look dangerous and important. Lily kept her head down as she walked to her quantum mechanics class. She clutched her data tablet tightly against her chest like a shield. "Oh, look, it's the half-breed," a cold voice said loudly. Lily didn't need to look up to know who was speaking. Vaxlor, a high-status Draconid whose family held power in 3 star systems, never missed a chance to remind Lily that she didn't belong here. "I heard humans can barely understand basic physics," Vaxlor continued. His friends laughed on cue. "How does it feel knowing half your brain is primitive jelly?" Lily kept walking, her freckles now glowing bright enough to be seen even under the harsh hallway lights. She had learned that responding only made things worse. "Hey!" Vaxlor stepped in front of her, blocking her path. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, his golden scales gleaming with health and privilege. "I'm talking to you, dirt child." Lily looked up finally, meeting his vertical pupilled eyes. "I'm going to be late for class," she said quietly. "Your mother must have been desperate to mate with a human," Vaxlor said. "Was she blind? Or just stupid?" Lily felt her hand shake, but kept her face calm. "Please move. Make me half-breed." Just then, a cool, wet hand slipped into Lily's. Ilara, her Aquarian roommate, had appeared beside her. "Professor Jend is looking for you, Vaxlor," Ilara said smoothly. "Something about your failed gravity simulation." He seemed angry. Vaxlor's eyes narrowed, but even he wouldn't risk trouble with the strict Zentari physics professor. With a final glare at Lily, he stalked away, his friends following close behind. "Thanks," Lily said to Ilara as they continued walking. "Don't mention it," Ilara replied, her voice bubbling like water over stones. "He's just jealous because you scored higher than him on the last 3 exams." They entered the classroom and took their seats near the back. Lily tried to ignore the stares and whispers that followed her. The Academy had been established after Earth joined the Galactic Coalition 20 years ago, but humans were still seen as newcomers, primitive beings who had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel through luck rather than skill. Being half-human and half-Centauri should have given Lily an advantage, a foot in both worlds. Instead, it made her an oddity to both. Too human for the aliens, too alien for the few humans at the Academy. When class ended, Lily checked her messages. Her father had sent a short note. "How's my star doing today?" Despite everything, Lily smiled. Her father, Alan Mason, always knew when she needed encouragement. She typed back, "Still shining, Dad, just not as brightly as I'd like." That night in her room, while Ilara was at swim practice, Lily pulled out the small, secure quantum communicator her father had given her. It was old Earth military tech, much more advanced than standard student equipment. "Hi, Dad," she said when his face appeared on the screen. "There's my girl," Alan Mason smiled, his kind brown eyes, so like her own, crinkling at the corners. "Tough day." Lily nodded, suddenly fighting tears. "Remember what I always tell you," he said gently. "They only mock what they don't understand. And what they don't understand, they fear." Lily finished with him. They talked for an hour, and when Lily finally went to sleep, her freckles glowed with a steady, confident light. The next morning, bright yellow posters appeared all over the Academy. Lily stopped to read one, and her heart sank. "Annual skill demonstration. 2 weeks away. Show your species pride." Every year, the Academy held this event to rank students and determine their future careers in the Coalition. It was also the time when species differences became most obvious. "Are you going to enter?" Ilara asked, appearing beside Lily with a tray of breakfast cubes. Lily shrugged. "What would I demonstrate? My amazing ability to be mocked." "You're top of our quantum mechanics class," Ilara said. "And your adaptive biology scores are the highest in our year." "Test scores don't matter at the demonstration," Lily said quietly. "You know that." They sat at an empty table in the dining hall. Around them, other species practiced their natural abilities. A group of draconids produced small energy balls between their fingertips, making them dance and spin. Two Zentari students sat silently, moving objects on their table without touching them, using only their telepathic powers. An Aquarian student turned her water into complex frozen sculptures before melting them back to liquid. "What special ability do I have?" Lily asked. "I got a little telepathy from my mother's side, but it's too weak to be useful. And from my human father. Humans don't have any special powers." Ilara touched Lily's hand. Her cool, damp fingers left little water droplets on Lily's purple skin. "You have other strengths." After classes, Lily retreated to the small practice room she had reserved for the evening. She placed her secure communicator on a shelf and activated it. "Ready for today's session?" her father asked when his face appeared. Lily nodded. "The skill demonstration is coming up. I need all the help I can get." Alan Mason smiled. "Then let's begin." For the next 2 hours, Lily followed her father's instructions. She moved through a series of combat stances, practiced escaping from different holds, and worked on improvising weapons from ordinary objects in the room. "Humans don't have natural weapons," her father reminded her, "so we became masters of turning anything into one." Since she was a child, Alan had trained her in combat, survival, and tactical thinking. These lessons were their secret. Not even her Zentari mother knew how extensive the training had become. "How's that circuit bypass coming along?" Alan asked. Lily showed him the small device she had built from spare parts. "I can shut down any standard security system with it." "Good. And the emergency breathable liquid I sent you?" "Hidden under my bed," Lily confirmed. "Though I still hate how it feels in my lungs." "Better uncomfortable than dead," her father said seriously, "especially if someone targets your human respiratory system." When they finished, Lily was sweating and tired, but her mind felt clear. "Do you think I'll ever fit in here, Dad?" Alan's expression softened. "The best humans never really fit in anywhere, honey. That's our strength. We adapt to situations instead of waiting for situations to adapt to us." After saying goodbye, Lily cleaned up and headed back to her room. In the hallway, she nearly collided with Professor Kira Blackwood, one of the few human teachers at the Academy. "Sorry, Professor," Lily said. Professor Blackwood studied her with knowing eyes. "You've been practicing something physical," she observed. "Good. Too many students here rely only on their natural abilities. It won't be enough for the demonstration," Lily admitted. "Don't be so sure," Professor Blackwood said with a small smile. "The history of humans is full of stories about being underestimated." When Lily reached her dormitory, she found a crowd gathered in the common area. In the center stood Vaxlor, his golden scales gleaming under the lights. "There she is," he said when he spotted Lily. "The half-breed who thinks she belongs here." The room went quiet. Lily felt her freckles brightening with anxiety. "I have a proposal," Vaxlor announced loudly. "Instead of the regular demonstration, I challenge Mason to the gauntlet." Gasps filled the room. The gauntlet was a dangerous obstacle course designed to test multiple abilities simultaneously. No mixed-species student had ever completed it. "Do you accept?" Vaxlor asked with a cruel smile. "Or are you as weak as your human father?" Lily felt a strange calm settle over her. She thought of all the training sessions with her father, all his lessons about human adaptability and resourcefulness. "I accept," she said clearly. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Lily caught sight of Ilara's worried face and Professor Blackwood's thoughtful expression. Vaxlor looked momentarily surprised before his face settled into a smug grin. Then prepare to fail, half-breed. Word of Lily's acceptance of the Gauntlet Challenge spread through the academy like wildfire. By morning, students from all years were pointing and whispering as she walked by. Even the teachers gave her strange looks, some concerned, others curious. "You shouldn't have accepted," Ilara said as they sat together in the library. "No one would blame you for backing out. The gauntlet isn't just difficult, it can be deadly." Lily stared at her data tablet, reviewing information about past gauntlet attempts. "If I back out now, I'll never hear the end of it. Being mocked is one thing, but being seen as a coward would be worse." Professor Blackwood found Lily there an hour later. The human teacher pulled up a chair and spoke in a low voice. "Mason, I've submitted a formal request to cancel this challenge," she said. "It violates several academy safety protocols." "Did it work?" Lily asked, already knowing the answer from the professor's expression. "No. Vaxlor's family has too much influence. The board ruled that stopping the challenge would violate coalition equality standards." Professor Blackwood looked genuinely worried. "They claimed that preventing you from participating would suggest humans aren't equal to other species. So they'll let me risk my life to appear fair," Lily said bitterly. Professor Blackwood placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Is there anything I can do to help you prepare?" Lily shook her head. "Thank you, Professor, but I'll be fine." That night, alone in her room, Lily activated her secure communicator. Her father's face appeared, smile fading quickly when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" he asked. Lily explained about the Gauntlet Challenge. She described the dangerous obstacles: gravity wells that could crush bones, atmospheric chambers that could drown or suffocate participants, combat simulations against multiple opponents, and mental challenges requiring strong telepathic abilities. "Vaxlor challenged me publicly," she finished. "I couldn't say no." Alan Mason was quiet for a long moment. Lily expected him to be angry or worried, but instead, she saw a familiar gleam in his eyes. The same look he got during their most intense training sessions. "Tell me everything you know about the Gauntlet's layout," he said. For the next hour, they discussed strategy. Lily described each section of the course in detail while her father took notes. "The atmospheric chamber is designed to test adaptation to different breathing environments," Lily explained. "Most species can handle at least 3 different atmospheres. Humans can only handle 1. "That's where you'll use the emergency breathable liquid," her father said. "It will buy you time while your lungs adjust." "The gravity wells change rapidly," Lily continued. "They spike up to 3 times normal gravity with no warning. Remember your low stance training," Ellen advised. "Keep your center of gravity low and move diagonally, not directly forward." They went through each challenge methodically. For some, Alan suggested direct approaches. For others, he recommended clever workarounds. "The final section is the worst," Lily said. "It requires strong telepathic abilities to solve a series of puzzles. My Zentari abilities are too weak." "Then don't use them," her father said simply. "Use your human abilities instead." "What human abilities?" Lily asked, frustrated. "Humans don't have telepathy." "No, but we have something better for solving puzzles." Alan tapped his temple. "Pattern recognition, logical thinking, creative problem solving. Trust your human instincts, Lily." When they finished planning, Lily felt both better and worse. She had strategies for each challenge, but the gauntlet still seemed impossible. "Dad," she said quietly, "why do they hate humans so much? We've been part of the coalition for 20 years. Alan's expression softened. "Because we surprised them, honey. The coalition expected to find a primitive species when they came to Earth. Instead, they found humans who had developed technology nearly equivalent to theirs, but through completely different methods. That scares them." "Will I survive this?" Lily asked, her voice small. "You'll do more than survive," Alan said firmly. "You'll show them exactly what humans are capable of. They think our lack of natural abilities makes us weak. Show them it makes us strong." After they said goodbye, Lily lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She had 3 days to prepare for the gauntlet. 3 days to get ready for the most dangerous challenge any student had faced this year. She wasn't just fighting for herself now. She was fighting to prove something about all humans. The day before the gauntlet, Lily went to inspect the course. All challengers were allowed one preview, though no physical contact with the obstacles was permitted. A bored-looking Academy security officer named Grell walked with her, keeping a respectful distance. "Most students bring their friends," Grell commented, his 4 eyes blinking at different times. "You came alone." "I work better alone," Lily replied, studying the first obstacle, a chamber with rapidly shifting gravity plates. She walked slowly around the course, mentally comparing what she saw with what her father had prepared her for. Something felt wrong. The atmospheric chamber's control panel had different markings than the standard design. The combat section contained more battle drones than regulations allowed. When they reached the final section, the telepathic puzzle maze, Lily noticed small devices attached to the walls that weren't in any of the specifications she'd studied. "What are those?" she asked, pointing. Grell looked uncomfortable. "Neural disruptors. They're new." "Neural disruptors are illegal in academic settings," Lily said sharply. "They can cause permanent brain damage." "I just follow orders," Grell mumbled. The course was approved by the board. After completing the inspection, Lily went straight to Professor Blackwood's office. The human teacher listened carefully to her concerns. "This goes beyond unfair," Professor Blackwood said, her face tight with anger. "This is deliberately dangerous. I'll file another complaint immediately." "It won't work," Lily said. "Not if the board already approved these changes." "Then withdraw," Professor Blackwood urged. "No competition is worth risking permanent injury." Lily thought about it. Backing out now would prove Vaxlor right, that humans and half-humans were weak and didn't belong at the Academy. But continuing might be risking her life. "I need to think," she said. Back in her room, Lily found Ilara waiting. The Aquarian looked unusually serious, water droplets forming and falling from her skin, a sign of extreme distress. "I heard about the course changes," Ilara said. "Lily, this isn't fair. Vaxlor's family must have arranged it." "I know," Lily replied, sitting heavily on her bed. "You should quit," Ilara said. "Even my people couldn't safely navigate those neural disruptors." Lily picked up her secure communicator. "I need to talk to my dad." Ilara nodded and left the room, giving Lily privacy. When Alan's face appeared on the screen, Lily explained everything she had seen. "They've rigged it," she finished. "The atmospheric chamber has been modified to eliminate oxygen completely. It would kill a human in minutes. The neural disruptors would fry my telepathic centers, weak as they are. And there are twice as many combat drones as regulations allow." Alan listened calmly, but Lily could see the muscle in his jaw tightening, a rare sign of real anger. "Do you want to withdraw?" he asked. "I don't know," Lily admitted. "If I quit, Vaxlor wins. If I try and fail—" She didn't finish the thought. Alan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'm calling in some favors. Old friends who now work in coalition security. We can't stop the challenge, but we can level the playing field a bit." "How?" Lily asked. "I'm sending you something," Alan said. "A special wristband. It won't be detectable by Academy scanners, but it will help protect you from the worst effects of the neural disruptors." "Is that legal?" Lily asked hesitantly. Alan smiled grimly. "About as legal as those modifications they made to the gauntlet. Sometimes, Lily, you have to fight fire with fire." 3 hours later, a small package arrived at Lily's dormitory. Inside was a slim metallic wristband that looked like a simple decoration. A note read, "Wear this tomorrow. It will help. I love you." Dad. Lily slipped it on. It felt cool against her skin. She didn't know if it would be enough, but she felt better knowing her father was helping her. That night, she barely slept. The thought of facing the rigged gauntlet terrified her, but a new feeling was growing alongside the fear: determination. They had changed the rules to ensure she would fail. She would change her approach to make sure she didn't. Adapt, improvise, overcome, she whispered to herself, repeating her father's favorite saying. That's what humans do best. The day of the gauntlet arrived. The main academy arena was packed with students and teachers. Even some coalition officials had come to watch. The gauntlet challenge was rare enough to draw attention, especially when it involved a half-human student. Lily stood at the entrance to the course, dressed in the simple gray jumpsuit provided to all challengers. Her purple skin seemed paler than usual, but her bioluminescent freckles glowed with steady determination. The wristband her father sent her was hidden beneath her sleeve. Across the arena, Vaxilor sat in a special box with his family. His golden scales gleamed under the lights as he smiled confidently. He clearly expected to watch Lily fail. You don't have to do this, Ilara whispered, standing beside Lily until the last moment. Yes, I do, Lily replied. The academy director, a tall Zentari with silver skin, stepped forward. The gauntlet challenge will now begin. Lily Mason has accepted this challenge of her own free will. The course will test strength, adaptability, combat skills, and mental abilities. Completion time is 1 hour. A loud buzzer sounded, and Lily stepped into the first section, the gravity chamber. Immediately, she felt her body grow heavy as gravity increased to twice Earth normal. Many students gasped, expecting her to collapse. Instead, Lily dropped into a low crouch, just as her father had taught her. Moving diagonally rather than straight ahead, she made steady progress through the chamber. Look at that, someone in the crowd said. She's actually doing it. The gravity shifted suddenly, becoming 3 times normal. Lily fell to her hands and knees, but kept moving forward. By the time she reached the exit, sweat poured down her face, but she was still going. The next section was the atmospheric chamber. As Lily had feared, the air inside contained no oxygen, only methane and nitrogen. Most alien species could process these gases, but a human would suffocate quickly. Lily pulled a small vial from her pocket, the emergency breathable liquid her father had sent months ago. She drank it quickly, feeling the strange sensation as the liquid coated her lungs. It burned, but she could breathe. She entered the chamber. The crowd watched in amazement as Lily navigated the atmospheric challenge without showing signs of distress. In the VIP box, Vaxilor's smug expression began to falter. How is she breathing in there? One of his family members asked sharply. Next came the combat section. As Lily had discovered during her inspection, there were 12 battle drones instead of the regulation 6. They activated simultaneously, surrounding her. The crowd grew quiet, expecting disaster. Even with training, how could anyone defeat 12 opponents at once? Lily didn't try to. Instead, she targeted the lead drone with a precise kick to its sensor array. When it began firing wildly, she ducked, causing it to hit 2 other drones. Using their confusion, Lily slipped past the group, heading for the control panel her father had identified during their planning session. With quick movements, she pried open the panel and rewired it. Suddenly, half the drones shut down. The remaining ones she defeated using a combination of the combat moves her father had taught her and objects in the environment as improvised weapons. She's fighting like a human Special Forces soldier, Professor Blackwood commented loudly enough for nearby officials to hear. The final section waited, the telepathic maze with its illegal neural disruptors. Lily felt fear rise in her throat. This was the most dangerous part, even with her father's protective wristband. As she entered, the neural disruptors activated, sending painful bursts of energy into her brain. Lily staggered, clutching her head. The wristband heated up against her skin, partially blocking the effect, but not completely. The maze required solving a series of telepathic puzzles, impossible for someone with her limited telepathic abilities. The crowd grew silent, expecting her to fail here. Instead, Lily closed her eyes and relied on what her father called human pattern recognition. Where a telepath would directly sense the solution, Lily observed the patterns in the maze's construction, the logical sequence of its design. Moving confidently, she began navigating the maze, solving each puzzle through deduction rather than telepathy. "Impossible," whispered a Zentari teacher. "She's doing it without telepathy." Vaxlor stood up in his box, his golden scales darkening with anger. "She must be cheating," he shouted. But Lily kept going, the protective wristband growing hotter as she pushed through the pain of the neural disruptors. Step by step, she approached the end of the gauntlet. When Lily emerged from the final section of the gauntlet, a stunned silence fell over the arena. Her jumpsuit was torn and dirty. A small cut on her forehead leaked purple-tinged blood. Her freckles pulsed with exhaustion, but she was standing tall, her eyes clear and focused. She had completed the gauntlet. For several seconds, no one moved or spoke. Then Professor Blackwood began to clap. Ilara joined in, her webbed hands making soft slapping sounds. Soon, many students were applauding. Not all, but enough to fill the arena with sound. The Academy director looked shocked as he announced, "Lily Mason has completed the Gauntlet Challenge with a time of 53 minutes and 20 seconds. In the VIP box, Vaxlor's face had turned dark gold with rage. He stood up and pointed at Lily. "She cheated," he shouted. "No half-human could possibly complete those challenges without cheating." His accusation hung in the air. The applause died away. "There must have been assistance," Vaxlor's father added, his deep voice carrying across the arena. "Scan her for prohibited devices." The Academy security officers stepped forward, scanning devices in hand. Lily stood still as they passed the scanners over her body. The wristband her father had sent remained undetected, just as he had promised. "No prohibited devices detected," the lead officer announced. "Impossible," Vaxlor shouted, his voice cracking. "Check again." Her human side couldn't have given her any abilities worth having in the gauntlet. Her pathetic human father couldn't have passed these tests himself. The crowd murmured. Even those who had applauded Lily seemed uncertain now. How had she done it? "I believe I can answer that," a new voice said. The crowd parted as a tall human man in a coalition military uniform walked into the arena. His uniform gleamed with medals and insignia, showing high rank. His brown eyes, exactly like Lily's, surveyed the scene calmly. Lily's heart leaped. "Dad," she whispered. Alan Mason walked to his daughter's side and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Well done, Lily," he said softly. Then he turned to face Vaxlor and the Academy officials. "I'm Alan Mason," he announced, "Lily's father." "This is a closed Academy event," Vaxlor's father said coldly. "You have no authority here, human." Alan smiled slightly. "Actually, I do. As the Coalition Security Oversight Director, I have authority at any Coalition institution." He tapped one of the insignia on his uniform. A ripple of shock passed through the crowd. The Coalition Security Oversight Director was one of the highest-ranking security positions in all Coalition space. "That's impossible," Vaxlor said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "You're just a human diplomat." "I was a diplomat," Alan corrected. "Before that, I was Earth Special Forces Commander. And now I oversee security for the entire Coalition." He turned to address the Academy Director. "I've been monitoring this event with great interest, particularly the illegal modifications made to the gauntlet." The Director's silver skin paled. "What modifications?" Alan pulled out a small device and projected a hologram showing the gauntlet's specifications. Neural disruptors in the telepathic maze. Twice the regulation number of combat drones. Complete oxygen removal in the atmospheric chamber. All violations of Coalition safety protocols. The director looked at Vaxilor's family, who had suddenly gone very quiet. I've already dispatched coalition security officers to investigate who authorized these changes. Alan continued. Endangering students is a serious offense. Vaxilor's father stood up, his scales now a dull gold. My son simply wanted a fair challenge. The girl has unusual hybrid advantages. My daughter, Alan said firmly, completed a course that was deliberately rigged against her. She did so using skills that all humans possess: adaptability, problem-solving, and determination. He looked around the arena. You mock humans for lacking natural weapons or abilities, but that absence forced us to develop something more powerful: the ability to analyze, adapt, and overcome any obstacle. The Academy director stepped forward. Director Mason, on behalf of the Academy, I apologize for this situation. I assure you, we will cooperate fully with your investigation. Alan nodded. I expect nothing less. He turned to Lily. Ready to go home. I think you've earned a break. Lily looked around at the stunned faces of her classmates. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, no one was mocking her. Some looked shocked, others embarrassed, and a few, like Ilara and Professor Blackwood, looked proud. Actually, Lily said, I think I'd like to stay. Things might be different now. Alan smiled. That's my girl. 3 months passed. The Academy changed in ways both small and large after the Gauntlet incident. The investigation into the rigged course revealed widespread corruption. Vaxilor's family lost much of their influence when their illegal activities were exposed. Vaxilor himself was placed on probation and required to take ethics classes. For Lily, life transformed almost overnight. Students who had once mocked her now asked for her help with problem-solving exercises. Teachers who had ignored her contributions now called on her regularly in class. Her unique perspective as both human and Zentari was suddenly valued rather than ridiculed. It's strange, Lily told Ilara as they walked to class one morning. I'm the same person I was before. Nothing about me changed. But their perception of you did, Ilara replied, her blue-green skin rippling thoughtfully. And sometimes that makes all the difference. Professor Blackwood had been promoted to Academy Director after the previous director resigned in disgrace. One of her first actions was to establish new courses on cross-species cooperation and the unique strengths of different races. Lily, Professor Blackwood called out as the two friends passed her office. I'd like a word, please. Ilara continued to class while Lily entered the director's office. I have a request, Professor Blackwood said. The graduation ceremony is next month, and I'd like you to give the keynote address. Lily blinked in surprise. Me? But I'm only a second-year student. Yes, but your experience highlighted something important that the Academy needed to learn, Professor Blackwood explained. The value of diversity lies in the different strengths each species brings, and humans bring something special to the coalition. Lily smiled. I'd be honored. That evening, Lily called her father on their secure communicator. He had returned to his duties but kept in touch regularly. How's the coalition's most famous student? Ellen asked with a smile. Hardly famous, Lily laughed. But things are better. Professor Blackwood asked me to give the keynote at graduation. That's wonderful, Alan said proudly. What will you talk about? The human capacity for adaptation, Lily replied, and how being underestimated can be a strength. They talked for a while longer about her classes and his work. Before saying goodbye, Lily asked, Dad, did you always know things would turn out this way? Alan's expression softened. I knew you had the ability to succeed, even if the path wasn't clear. That's another human trait, hope in the face of uncertainty. On graduation day, the Academy's Grand Hall was filled with students, teachers, and coalition officials. Lily stood at the podium, her purple skin contrasting with the formal white robes all students wore for the ceremony. When I first came to this academy, she began, I was mocked for being part human. Many believed humans had nothing valuable to offer the coalition. No natural weapons, no telepathy, no special physical abilities. She paused, looking across the audience. But humans have something just as powerful. We adapt, we solve problems creatively, and we never give up. She spotted Vaxlor in the crowd. The once arrogant Draconid looked humbler now, his golden scales less bright than before. The coalition values diversity because different species bring different strengths, Lily continued. My Zentari heritage gave me limited telepathic abilities, but my human heritage gave me something equally important: the creativity to find solutions when traditional approaches fail. In the front row, her father watched with pride, sitting beside Professor Blackwood and several coalition officials. Ilara stood with the other students, her water-based skin glistening with emotion droplets. Being different isn't a weakness, Lily said. It's a strength. Being underestimated isn't a burden. It's an advantage. And being human isn't something to be mocked. It's something to be valued. As applause filled the hall, Lily felt a sense of rightness sweep through her. For the first time, she was truly proud of both sides of her heritage. The telepathic abilities from her Zentari mother were wonderful, but the adaptability, determination, and creativity from her human father were equally precious. She caught her father's eye, and he gave her a small nod and smile. No words were needed between them. They both understood the truth that the Academy was only now beginning to learn. Never underestimate a human, or anyone with human blood in their veins, because those who did would almost certainly live to regret it.